Welcome to the What's Up Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Mattson and
Better read than dead.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, like, bell notification, subscription, all that fun stuff. Hit those buttons. Tell a friend about us. Go leave us a review. I've got one we'll talk about next time we talk about a movie. I don't have it up in front of me. I'm not going to pull it up, but we did get another review.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, people.
Yeah,
Santa Claus, if you're listening while you're getting those presents with your elves, we'd sure love a follow as well. So get your mountain of elves and penguins and walruses that talk. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. All right, well, we are live and we are here to talk about Andor, season 1, episode 11. Only one episode left, dude.
Dang.
Yeah, but it's gearing up to be a good one, I think. It was an interesting episode. It was another tweener episode, which was fine. But I think there was a lot of good setup in this one that is gearing up for this big, obvious showdown of some sort for episode 12.
Well, you got your boy Stellan Skarsgård prominent front and center in this one. So for JJ, there shouldn't have been a lot of too much complaining about this setup episode.
No, there was enough very compelling. Like, it wasn't like a slow, like, I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was great. I thought there was enough going on that led up to next week that I was enjoying. And speaking of Luthen or Stellan Skarsgård, man, where's that laser weapon been our entire freaking history of Star Wars? Because every ship should be equipped with a couple of those.
That's the thing I remember the most from this, where it was clear at the very end, but like the tech on his ship was dope. Like, I mean, he's definitely got a decent amount of money, but that ship, as I understand, if we were watching like the Star Wars version of Pimp My Ride, like, let's go, like that was some next level stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Even his little the 3-camera AI thing he's got seems to be like, I don't know, cream of the crop. Then the tractor beam deterrent, like, where was that on the Millennium Falcon when they needed that? To the laser thing was by far the coolest from what JJ mentioned. That thing, I'm like, why didn't the Rebel Alliance, is it too expensive? Why aren't we installing that on X-Wings?
Yeah, no kidding. Because that was cool. Like, just sliced them right up. I'm sure there's got to be some explanation of, like, takes a lot of power or takes a certain kind, but that was dope.
Well, or JJ, it could be that we are in year 2022 and we just realize, like, oh, that's a cool thing we could add back into this. And in the 70s and early 80s, we just weren't thinking about that stuff.
It's true. We got high-tech weapons that we just didn't have back then.
That was a dope scene, though. I mean, that was one of the cooler air fighting scenes in Star Wars that I can think of in a while. It was really, really cool. And I love how they showed the ship commander or whatever, whoever, the guy that was standing in front of the window panes, and after he just like looked down and kind of shook his head, because he probably just like, damn it, like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, well, and so a couple of things with that has really kind of changes everything for Luthen, because one, it shows how prepared this dude is, like, not to mention his ship and everything he's got going on, but also the conversation. And we're kind of working backwards with this episode, but that's okay. But the conversation with Saw Gerrera, where he's like, look, I'm okay throwing Krieger to the wolves because he has nothing on me. He doesn't know me. He goes, I can't throw you to the wolves because you can hurt me. It's your choice, but I'd rather you not, because if you get captured or something goes on with you, I'm in trouble. So I thought that was very interesting. Like, it just shows... And we already knew the dude was ruthless, but it shows how prepared and how, like, this guy's thinking 10 steps ahead, because it was obvious to the reaction of the guy in that ship where he's like, really? One of these pirate ships has these countermeasures for our tractor beam? Like, but it also knowing that's more than just a pirate ship to those guys now, like, because of what was on that. So there's got to be some sort of report of a ship that was flying out of wherever
Oh
Saw
yeah.
Gerrera is at. You know what I mean? So they've moved into some more tenuous space,
Well,
at
you know,
least
ISB
for
is going to be all over that,
oh, for sure, for
all
sure.
over that. What do they call him? A hull breaker? That's how they kept addressing the ship or whatever. Like
Oh
that
yeah, the Hall Hall freighter or something. I don't know.
or
Yeah,
something like that. I was like, man, if they did a little drinking game in that episode, they say it like 8 times or something stupid like that. Take a shot.
yeah,
Like
no
JJ
kidding.
would have been like slapstick silly by the end of that scene.
Yeah, I'd have been all sorts of messed up. That's yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, but I think the best part of that was the firefight, and then what you just talked about with Saul Greer, that conversation about like, hey, who can I cut ties with? Who do I need to stay in bed with? And then he also kind of gave it up to Saul Greer to say like, look, you could, I guess you could go ahead and try and save this guy, but if you get burned, then I'm burned, and then everything we're trying to do is probably burned. So like, you really got to think about what you're gonna do here.
Yeah, yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I liked all that backstory setup piece of how well, and even with Vel when she goes into Luthen to try to find Luthen and ends up talking to Luthen's assistant slash partner in this whole thing, like that conversation too was pretty tenuous. Like it's like,
Mm,
look, I'm in trouble, or what we need to do this, that, or the other. And she's like, you need to leave. Like this, this is not okay. You just showing up right now. So
yeah.
it was a lot of it, the moving parts are all kind of coming together. Um, and
Well,
then
yeah.
poor, yeah.
Mon Mothma, there's a lot of people living in glass houses in this episode, from being on Ferrix to the people surrounding that to those that are in why am I forgetting the capital city's name? Um where's
Oh, Coruscant.
yeah, everyone on Coruscant basically with Mon Mothma and all that, like even what's Stellan Skarsgård's actual character's name? Why am I
Luthen.
forgetting? Luthen, yeah. I mean all of them. They're living everything is in a glass box there, and
Yeah.
you have to find ways to have those conversations even when you know you're being surveyed and watched. And um I really enjoyed that. The one thing that I want to bring up that I enjoyed as well, Star Wars is so good at this, is the little, what do they call it, like B2E Mo,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the little robot. Like I don't know, we've seen a lot in stars, from cute animals to heartwarming machines and androids, but man, I don't know if I've seen one grieve for a human being that's died in the way that Star Wars has shown. That was touching.
Yeah.
It didn't want to leave its little charging station, JJ. It didn't want to leave its house. That guy had to stay the night. Like,
Hmm.
come on, Star Wars. You're so good at that.
Yeah. It was definitely, it's interesting that, like, and this is true for all of Star Wars, and everybody knows I'm a huge fan, but the bit characters like that, like the droids, and like that are tend to be the most uh you're drawn to characters, things like that. Like I've always enjoyed, like for me, everybody, I think everybody at this point knows R2 is like my like my spirit droid, if you if you will, just because I think that those characters, it's funny, like you say, he shows all this empathy and this compassion and heartbreak and mourning for you know Cassian's mom. So it was an interesting, yeah, it was just a good episode. A lot of interesting character development. I really liked the code that Luthen was talking with his assistant when he's on the ship and they're talking about like a buyer and this, that, and the other.
Mm,
And my question is, and I found it interesting. I am wondering if in that conversation he was talking about, um, oh gosh, dang it, Leia's adopted dad that I can't think of his name, on because he was like, it needs to be, the ship needs to be Alderanian or whatever, from Alderaan, where he wanted his ship thing set up, and that's where Leia's from. So I was wondering if it was, oh gosh, dang it, Organa. If it was Senator Organa was the buyer, because he was a big piece of the rebellion, at least
hmm
in past Star Wars lore. So I'm wondering if Luthen was recruited, or if he's this buyer that it was almost too risky to go see. If maybe that's where he was headed. I don't know. That was the thought that I had.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar vein. I mean, I hope we find out next episode. Like, there's a lot we're gonna find out next episode.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna Or do you think they're going to end on this? It seems like this spell house power station situation, and however that goes down, it seems like what our climax will be.
Yeah, there's got to be a two-way. Like I think you'll have a two-way. You got to be able to see that, right? Because they've set that up so much with the spell house thing and watching Krieger go down, and that's where Mira is going to be tied up. The ISB obviously is going to be there taking him down. But then I think with the phone call to the weird dude from the commander or whatever, he got that phone call from his compatriot from their little first initial visit to Ferrix, where everything went to hell in the second episode. I think he's obviously going to end up on Ferrix, as is Cassian. And so you have Andor, you got that dude coming, you've got what's her face, Cinta, who's on there watching to kill Andor. And then you've got, so I mean, I think you'll have this. To me, it seems like the episode will probably be this dual like split of time with the Anto Krieger and then what's going on Ferrix and trying to catch Cassian at that, because he's going back because his mom died.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then he tried to call in, and that guy kept saying his name. He's like, "Stop using names!"
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
He's like, "Dude, get the memo."
Yeah. Well, and then kudos, even though Alec's not with us today, on here today with us, but he really called it with Melshi, the guy that Cassian, that Andor's with through most of the episode, becoming a general or whatever it is, a sergeant rather, Sergeant Melshi from the Battle of Scarif. So it was really cool, that catch. So kudos to Alec, even though I hate giving him kudos.
Is that guy like rich or something? He had a nice like PJ set lounge leisure wear set that he was wearing.
I don't know. I don't know. He obviously Andor snuck into that couple's house that used to be his room or whatever it was that he was staying.
Fair.
So maybe he snuck into another set of rooms and swiped some clothes from tourists.
I think where I end this though is Mon Mothma still, like, I don't dislike her as much probably as you do, but I don't know, she still hasn't hit it for me. Where I think that's the big detractor. Where I don't know if it's the actor, the way it's written, it's not as exciting for me.
Yeah, I'm still there where, I mean, this episode was a little better because like you started to see how tenuous the situation she is in really is. Like where she's basically, you can tell she's going to end up giving up her daughter to this dude to get her money.
Yeah.
And that takes some serious being in trouble to be able to sacrifice the well-being of your daughter at that point just to make sure that you don't go down or whatever it is. So I thought it was an intriguing scene with her, but I just have been so bored with her storyline for the most part that it just didn't do much for me either, even though it was better than most of the time we see her. But I don't know why that is when it comes to her. I don't know if it's because we're already so familiar with her that I don't need to know her backstory. It doesn't interest me that much, but where like with Andor, getting to know how he got to where he is in Rogue One is interesting to me. And then of course the way that Luthen and Stellan Skarsgård has made me interested in his character. So yeah, but I'm with you. I don't. Mon Mothma's like, okay, she's on screen. That's all I need to know. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think things are shaping up to be an interesting ending. Where I was a little worried about the climax, but I'm hopeful that'll end with a good bang.
Yeah, I think we'll have a nice season finale and gear up for season 2 and be ready to see a little bit more of the rebellion side in season 2 as opposed to kind of how we get there. Because I feel like that will be another piece that the layout for next season will be is after this episode, is I think we'll be on that path of after, especially the conversation between Saw and Luthen, where we're combining these, factions of rebellion into the actual rebellion, even though there was still some separation that we saw like in Rogue One, where Saw was kind of off doing his own thing still at that point, even though it was a pretty unified front as a whole with the rebellion. So should be interesting. But I'm hopeful. I'm with you. I think next week should be pretty interesting. I'll be sad when it's over.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, it's been an interesting show.
Yeah, I think if Alec were here, I still think maybe one of his complaints would be it's been still kind of less about Cassian to an extent. Even you think about this episode, they showed glimpses of them trying to get to the ship and do all that. But I don't know if I mean, to me, Cassian is the vessel to, it seems like, to tell the story of how, I mean, Star Wars Episode 4 tells its story. And it seems like it's more the vessel, and probably he's going to become more ingrained in season 2 and 3 and such, but they had to tell the story in some way, and it had to revolve around someone. And with what he is in Rogue One, I mean, I think they picked a very logical individual to do so, but I like some of the surrounding cast and things, and it doesn't bother me as much than I think maybe it does like Alec, but it'll be nice. Hopefully we get some more casting here towards the end.
Yeah, agreed. One final thing for me that was interesting was the whole Bix connection. Like they show her again being threatened to be tortured, and you can see that she's obviously been through some shit. Like,
oh yeah, she can't even walk.
Yeah, she's struggling, and that is the one thing that obviously they didn't show it because they cut away, but if they confirm, or if she confirmed that Krieger, the guy that they're giving up, was not Luthen, this guy that she introduced or connected Andor to, then while they'll still take down Krieger at Spellhouse, it's obvious that the ISB is not going to be completely at ease knowing that Axis, as they call him, is still out there. So because that's right now they're thinking it might be Anto Krieger, where she probably confirmed that it isn't. So definitely one more piece to the puzzle there, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, overall, good episode.
Somehow, some way, and somehow, I'm sure that rat inside the ISB that the rebels have got is gonna die a gruesome death. Maybe that'd be like a season 3 thing or something, because that'll be a juicy episode.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's gonna go well for him before it's all said and done.
That's like a Vader shows up to end you.
Yeah, that's some serious investigation and interrogation that's going to happen at that point.
Or they throw you in a cell with they don't even put it on your ears. They just throw you in a cell with that alien weird music and just leave you in there till you die.
Yeah, with just those cries playing, and you just melt. Like you're just like your brain goes. Yeah, I'm done.
Just literally is like, ugh.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah, Empire does not care, man. There's no chill about it. They don't care about Bixby that he would be. They're just yeah.
Well, the line with Luthen too, where they're like, "Yeah, the code checks out. He's good. Do you want me to call off the boarding party?" He's like, "Nah, we need the practice."
We need the practice. So like,
what the hell is that?
But I guess you even look at the rebel side with Luthen. I mean, obviously he's willing to make some cold-blooded decisions as well for what they're trying to do. And at that point, in some ways, you kind of have to go toe-to-toe with the Empire. You can't just be all nice and hunky-dory because they're so cold and ruthless. Like they will win if you're not willing to make some hard decisions along the way. Like you're just going to have to.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Cool. I think it was a good episode. I think it's a good penultimate episode setting up the final. So looking forward to next week, and we'll be back to cover that. And as we bail out here, Mattson, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
Like, I know you guys are disappointed again. I don't have some Alec written spiel here, but he'll be back soon. But again, we appreciate you all listening. We appreciate you taking the time on a week-to-week basis to do so. Obviously, you can catch our next and final Andor episode live next Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, and then dropping the next day on wherever good podcasts can be found. We are still currently running with Peripheral, which I think we have, 2 episodes left, JJ?
3.
3? Oh, wow.
Yeah, last episode was episode 5, I believe, and
If you have
there's
not
yeah.
listened to us and watched that, shame on you. If you
Mhm.
are a new listener and have not watched that, that is getting close to the best thing I've seen this year, and I think probably will take the cake if it continues on that. Well, if it does, it will be.
Yeah.
So if that's on Amazon Prime, absolutely encourage you to watch that. Again, that's The Peripheral. We are also recording that live on Mondays on YouTube and Facebook live at 5 p.m. Pacific. Podcast drops the next day. We are really excited about that one, and then we're sprinkling in some good movies. We'll have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever dropping here real shortly. Going to be doing the Glass Onion, and then some holiday flair as we get into the holiday season here shortly as well. If you want to engage with us, definitely check us out on Patreon, where you can help influence the things we watch. Come check out some exclusive trailer reviews and just straight up tell us to watch something that we may not want to watch, Charles. And we'll do it with your support. And yeah, with that, just again, really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we do have to. He mentioned Charles, but we better make sure that
No, what's his name now?
we drop his new name. I'm pulling it up. It's a dig at you because you called him out.
When do I not call him out?
Well, that's fair too. But he called you out because you gave him shit the other day when he only spelled your name with 1 T.
Oh,
So he spelled it. It's Mattson's 13 toes, but he's got 4 T's in there.
love it. Love it.
So yeah, it was well played. The guy changes his name all the time, but we love having him as a patron. Except when I'm watching.
Like if you become a patron with us, just ask Charles. You're gonna get called out all the time. Although we may not have a Patreon like Charles because he's the worst and the best. But if you want to have some fun with us, we'll definitely involve you into the fold.
Yeah, and there's a lot of content coming on the Patreon. Just as a heads up, I posted 4 posts ready to go in the next couple of weeks, so they'll be coming plus more. So we do a lot of exclusive content for our patrons. So consider it. And with that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!